About 5 weeks. Let's bring in Power Panel now. Amos Snead is a founding partner at S3 Public Affairs and a former press secretary for House Republican Roy Blunt. And Antoine Seawright is a Democratic strategist and the founder of CEO Blueprint Strategy. Gentlemen, great to have you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Amos, I'm going to start with you on this latest move, contempt of Congress over impeachment.
Well, I think if you look at this, if you look at how the legislative process, I mean, that can be messy. In the United States, that process can be messy. The oversight function of Congress can be even more messy. So I think what you're looking at now, a lot of this is a bit of grandstanding to stay in the news, keep this topic top of discussion, which we're doing so right now. But I think really if you look at this, I mean, what's next? Where does it go? I don't think this is something that the House...
Well, contempt of Congress is decidedly very different than impeachment. I mean, we saw this with Eric Holder.
Harris,
although nothing happened with him.
My assessment on all of this is that this is probably the strongest measure I've seen in my lifetime by a U.S. Congress to protect a sitting Russian president, because that's what this is about. This is all about trying to protect the interests of Donald Trump and his continued playing footsie and cuddling, flirting with Vladimir Putin. Look, as if Congress doesn't have work to do, as if we do not have people in Flint, Michigan without running water, clean water.
So you
as
don't
if
have
we do
a
not
problem
have
with the
infrastructure
Department of
problems in this
Justice
country
that doesn't answer back to Congress on documents, regardless of what the... And I hear your incendiary comments and you're trying to get some clickbait on your Twitter. But, hey, good luck with that. But really, if the shoe were on the other foot, that the whole point of this is that there are documents that Congress is trying to see, and there is a concerted effort to keep that from happening. Amos?
Yeah, I think a lot of this has been brought upon himself. You know, hand over the documents and this stops. But I think if you're looking at this from a process standpoint in Congress, I don't think this goes past the House, because if it did, it would go over to the Senate and take precedent over all Senate business. And if you haven't heard, there's a Supreme Court nominee who's out there kind of wavering that I think the Senate needs to take action on. So I don't think that this will go any further than where it has. It's, in my opinion, this was a little bit of a media grandstand.
You talk about clickbait, that's essentially what this was. You saw the Attorney General, although we probably disagree on 99.9% of the things, he even defended his top lieutenant today, saying he thinks he's doing a good job, he's credible, and so forth. And so we've seen this.
You're talking about Jeff Sessions, who put out that comment.
Yeah, I mean, this is a small wing, a small fraction of the Republican Party who seems to want to have more interest in protecting the President of the United States and his whatever relationship with Russia and Putin versus doing what's in the best interest of the American people.
Well, we know what the relationship is for now. The relationship that we see that has evidence is policy.
I think so. I mean, look, of course, Attorney General Sessions...
Did you just throw me a side-eye?
Did I throw you a side-eye?
No, Antoine's throwing me a side-eye, but that's true, though. That's true.
All I can tell you is that you saw, and I think Amos did too, what the American people saw in that press conference a few weeks ago.
You're talking about the summit, the post-summit.
We saw that. We also saw him double down.
Look, that was very problematic for the president.
We saw him double down his comments, and we have yet to see the president's tax returns to see if there's further business interest with him in Russia. So I don't know. All I can tell you is there are a lot of questions floating out there about Trump and Russia.
We have the two A's today, Amos and Antoine. I will bring you both back. We'll be right back. Very interesting.